voice, 17104.com.
Welcome, my brothers and sisters, to the Richard James Show on 17104, The Voice.
Greeting, my friends, and salutation. It's good to see you again. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. God has blessed us with sunshine. He's blessed us with rain. He's blessed us with a period of time on earth where we can do some good for others. We're coming down to the last week in March. This is a Women's History Month. And for me and for others, it is African American Women's History Month. And we're going to lift up all women, but in particular, we're going to lift up African American women. They have come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord. The atrocity that have been heaped on women of color is unbearable and unthinkable. The discrimination that's heaped is unbearable and unthinkable. And we, as a song that was written and sung by Michael Jackson said, he's looking at the man in the mirror, hoping that he will change his ways. We have got to turn, brothers, our mirror on ourselves and making sure as we look at the man in the mirror that we're going to change our ways, give honor, respect, and most of all, love to our partners on life's journey. I think it's really critically important that we do that. A very good friend of mine came past my stand there in Lebanon, indicated that his daughter was interested in doing something. I'm not going to name any names, but his daughter was interested in getting her graduate degree going on. And she has a husband and a small child. And he did everything he could from what he told me to discourage her from doing that and said she had to take care of this scholar. That is the most asinine, ridiculous, sexist, ignorant thing that anyone can do to try to discourage their child from seeking and higher education, which would benefit both her daughter, him, and everybody around him. Men, we have a responsibility to not only to provide, nurture, and support, but also to try to encourage our own to feel good about themselves, to feel like that they can accomplish something and to do it. And if there's a problem that needs to be taken care of, to help them to find a solution to that problem. I have been blessed, truly blessed, to have 3 daughters. I have 4 children, 3 daughters and 1 son. And then I've been blessed to have a great-granddaughter. So we brought a lot of women into the world. And check this out. I am also blessed because my grandson and his wife are having twins, and it's my understanding that both of them are girls. So we're going to bring women into the world. We're going to bring young men into the world. And we have got to be leaders. We have got to lift up the bloodstained banner and walk with them, march with them, work with them, pray with them to be able to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish in life. We're finding that in this period of history, that with or without our support, that African American women in particular and women in general are lifting themselves up and are doing it the leadership in many of our major cities is African American. Representative Boss was uh, just elected to mayor of the city of Los Angeles. And we can look at Washington, D.C. and other major cities. San Francisco, for example, just elected an African-American female mayor. So the two major cities in California have mayors who are African-American female. Don't try to tear them down. Don't try to find fault. Lift them up for God's sake, and for your sake, and for the world's sake, and give them the kind of support that they need to do the job. Critically important. Right now, we thought that we did something because we elected the first African American, a man of mixed heritage, the first African American as president of the continental United States. I would never have dreamed that this would happen. And I've said this before. Huh? President of the United States? You're trying to pull me. Barack Hussein Obama, brilliant tactician, constitutional lawyer, editor of the Harvard Review, graduated from Columbia University with his bachelor's, doctor's degree from Harvard University. Nobody can question this man's credentials. And a man that loves his family. Can't wait to get home when the day is through, to be with that beautiful, gorgeous, brilliant Michelle Obama. And he brought two young ladies into the world, along with Michelle. He had two lovely young ladies, brilliant young ladies that brought into the world. And I'm saying to you, my brothers, we need to lift up the man in the mirror. Look at him, hoping that he will change his ways. Understand, and I don't care what they have gleaned from the Old Testament, but we're in the New Testament era, King James Version of the Bible. There abideth three: faith, hope, and charity. But the greatest of these is charity, which is love. And we have got to learn how to love. Or we have wonderful examples that I mentioned some. I didn't mention to you our current Vice President of the United States, former district attorney for the city of San Francisco, former Attorney General for the state of California, Kamala Harris, father African, mother Indian with African ancestry, both of them involved in the civil rights struggle. And now Kamala Harris is a heartbeat away from the presidency. He is the Vice President of the United States. Some people think that it couldn't be done. But I, with a chuckle, replied that maybe it couldn't, but I'd be the one that would try. So she buckled right in with a bit of a grin to do the thing that couldn't be done. And she did it. Kamala Harris, African-American female, graduated from what school? Howard University. Oh. One of the largest Black institutions of higher education in the country. Member of the AKA sorority. doesn't shun or turn her back on Black people. A lot of white females are extremely jealous of Kamala Harris, try to tear her down and rip her apart. But hey, just one more barrier passed. She got past it and was selected by Joe Biden, former Vice President of the United States, as his running mate for presidency. And they won with the highest margin of votes ever seen in a national election. Joe Biden and Kamala beat the pants off of Donald Trump, 7 million votes. And this man couldn't tell the truth. His life depended on it. And so he promoted the big lie that he had won. The big lie. And if you say a lie over and over and over again, you're going to get some people to agree with it. Created an insurrection in the Capitol, disrespecting the halls of Congress, disrespecting the halls of the capital of the United States. I could never do that. I could never support that. Had a hangman's noose that they wanted to put Mike Pence, the vice president, in because he refused to break the Constitution and not, shall we say, swear in the electors who were there to vote for the candidates out of that was elected in their particular state. Of course, he's still trying to maintain his position in what has become a very right-wing and racist party, my old party. I say it with a broken heart. I worked with the Republican Party for years. I was chairman of what they call the Frederick Douglass Club. Was one of the first Republicans that was Black, one of the first Black officials. He was a United States Marshal. He was an abolitionist, a journalist, a man without formal education, but brilliant in his own right. Frederick Douglass. We organized a group called the Frederick Douglass and tried to fight against racism and discrimination within the Republican Party. And it's my understanding, and this was in the city of Seattle, the state of Washington, many years ago. And I understand that the party and the Frederick Douglass Club still exists. But it's sad when people cannot speak their minds and be forthwith and trying to do for others. And we try to destroy them for that very, very same reasons. We've had a lot of women in history that have contributed to the development of this nation and contributed to the status of women, not only in the United States, but throughout the world. We mentioned Kamala Harris, who was Vice President of the United States. We also have other women that we're going to talk about at some point. We have Coretta Scott King, who was the wife of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who created the King Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Wonderful woman, creative, ingenious, a helpmate, a co-partner with Dr. King in his fight to end racism and discrimination. We have a video that we want to show you today. It's not a lot of well-known, prominent women, but some of the individuals who have opinions about African-American history and the status and position of African-American females in this country. So we're going to show this video. We're going to take a look at this video, 4 minutes. And then we're going to come back and close out broadcast with more information.
Woman, angry.
Angry black woman.
Angry black woman. Attitude, loud, mean, ghetto. Stupid, ghetto, loud.
Attitude,
loud. Whenever I get into a discussion with anyone, they're always like, see, you're being angry, you're being that typical black woman. And I'm not an angry person. I feel like as black women, we have a lot of opinions, and I think that we're very strong, and I think that that comes off the wrong way. And people see that as angry, but I don't think it's angry. I just think it's having an opinion. And I feel like a lot of other races maybe don't put out their opinions as much as we do, but I think that we've been taught to like stand up for ourselves. I think also it comes off as angry because I feel like a lot of black men don't fight for us, and so we feel like we have to like fight for ourselves, or we have to stand up for ourselves, and so it just might rub people off as being angry.
Like this angry black woman mentality that just does not exist. And I don't know where it comes from, but there are times when it can be discouraging, but I know a lot of black women that more or less just embrace it and take it as more of a dominance thing, and it works for them, and it works for me.
The angry black woman and the ghetto black woman. Those are the big main two. I feel like as soon as a black woman has passion about anything, raises her voice about anything, she's angry. She has an attitude problem. And also at the same time, black women are very vibrant. I think ghetto and vibrant kind of merge together when some people who don't understand the difference see it. Just being loud and having a good time and having a big smile on your face and having a big personality. I think that is often, for whatever reason, with black women equated with being ghetto. And I think that is a big stereotype with black women. Being loud, being mad about white women, liking black men.
The fact that some people see us as being too independent. When you think about black women, majority of them are very, very intelligent. If you look at the statistics and the numbers, black women are finishing colleges higher than their male counterparts, and I mean, these are some of the things that can be detrimental to them, because when you get so high up, some people think that they are too independent and they think they don't need anybody, when that's the total opposite, or they are too strong and they're not willing to submit, and these can be bad factors for black women. How do you say it? Everybody doesn't like that. And it's kind of hard sometimes to kind of switch those switches on and off when you're born to be so strong or born to be so independent, trying to be submissive or trying not to be as outspoken. It's kind of hard sometimes for some of us to turn it off and on. So like I said, that it can hurt us, but it can also help us.
You know, they don't know how to let a man be a man. And that just kind of bothers me because I feel like society has taken out black men and society has left black women to be in an independent state for such a long time that black women have evolved into being such. And so with black women being independent and, you know, doing things on their own, attitude may come, but it's not because, you know, black women are angry. It's because black women are determined to do what needs to be done for whomever.
So stereotypically, black women are supposed to be loud and ghetto and stupid and have like 7 kids before the age of 16 and promiscuous.
Acting ghetto, but then on the opposite side, you have people that they say, oh, you're acting white or you're talking white, so you're assimilating to what is popular. But at the same time, what everyone else sees is the stereotype of being angry or being mad, or what's seen as negative as opposed to the positive that does occur.
I see a lot of stereotyping black women as like loud or unprofessional or stubborn. And I think a lot of times it's just because of how they're portrayed in like the media or in entertainment. A lot of times it's the roles that black women get, like the sassy black friend or the like person who's acting up in the office and things like that.
Having an attitude, also being thought of as not capable to perform the jobs is a couple of the biggest stereotypes, I'd say.
Not caring, the not having any emotions. I feel like black women may be some of the most emotional. I don't want to say they're ladies. Like at the end of the day, they're ladies, and they don't have an attitude. Just because they don't walk around smiling all the time doesn't mean that they necessarily have an attitude. But some people just don't walk around with a smile on their face, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things is people assume that they're always going to have an attitude or always have something negative to say when black women aren't negative at all. Like there are some, but there are some in every bunch of group of people that you would define. So to say that a black woman has an attitude is necessarily is rude to her, like disrespectful to her. Like just because she's black doesn't define her as having an attitude, because that could be the nicest person you may ever meet.
I think one of those main stereotypes is that we're always angry, that we don't care about things, that we don't raise our children, that we're lazy. I think some of those stereotypes are still out there. I think some stereotypes are that we're looking for someone to take care of us, and that's not necessarily true for most black women, because most black women take care of themselves.
I think we have to work extra hard. We have to work extra hard as a woman. We have to work extra hard as a black woman, because we have to prove ourselves in both to be just as equal as a man and then just as equal as a white woman. Because to me, and this is just my belief, that they think we're not as smart as either white men or black men and white women.
They can hold their own or carry a nation, I guess. Like black women are just queens in my eyes.
You think about her strength. You think of someone who is this strong, independent, kind of fighter. Someone who really doesn't need anyone, or if she needs something done, she does it herself. It just makes me think about people like my mother or my grandmother, just women who are bold and brilliant and people who never let anything get in their way. That's what I think about when I think about a black woman.
Being a black woman, I feel like one of the major characteristics is strength, because you have to be strong to carry on throughout the day and have the determination to know who you are and be confident in who you are as a person. Because as a people of African American and black people, we have struggled and overcame so much. So having that strength and determination to push through any endeavors or struggles that come our way is vital to us as a people.
Black women are strong, we're hard workers, we can do anything, like we're amazing cooks and we can do hair. And also, like when I think of a black woman, I think of someone who like makes something like a home. I feel like we're really nurturing, we know how to care for people.
As black women, we kind of get the short end of the stick on both the like gender side, and then we're also like people of color, so it's kind of a fight sometimes just to be who we are. And so a lot of times black women just have to be strong just to make it through their daily lives.
A woman who is determined, doesn't take no for an answer, someone who's just always willing to work for what they want. You know, like, I just think of my mom, and I just think of somebody who's going to get up every day and go to work with no complaints. That's who I think is strong. Someone who just, even when times are rough, even when they don't want to do something, they still do it.
There isn't just one way to solve a problem. And I mean, I just feel like black women as a whole are very strong. And they know how to solve anything. Like I feel like there's nothing a black woman can't handle. There's nothing that you can throw at her that she can't, take and make
something way better. And I just feel like that's black people in general, but definitely black women. I feel like black women are the heart and soul of society, and without black women, I don't think we would be where we are today.
We are extremely resilient, and there's not anything we can't get through and still come back fabulous. We just have a way of just getting through things gracefully.
You have to be very strong, and you have to really know yourself, because black women aren't as valued as they should be today as they never have been. So if we don't value ourselves.
To be a black woman is to have grace, to be powerful in our own ways and magical in what we believe in and what we do.
Be loving yet fierce, bold yet vulnerable. To be a black woman, it means to know a struggle that you may have never faced yourself, to understand the struggle and to fight through it and help others and pay it forward, because 9 times out of 10 you didn't get where you were without any help. And so that definitely can go for all women, but especially for black women, being in a world of business or any kind of business at all, building yourself up to be that CEO or whoever, however far you get, you definitely had help along the way, and it was 9 times out of 10 from another black woman.
I think it means you're an individual who's having to overcome labels and obstacles and making the best of the hand that you've been dealt. And I think that's privy to women of color. I think that's privy to women as a whole. I think that's privy to people of color. I think it's anyone who's labeled of something that's not traditional or not mainstream. I think we overcome those things. You asked one of the greatest stereotypes when I talked about that, we're this perception that we're strong without a voice. I think it's that people perceive us to be one-dimensional. I think social media, I think today's reality television, we're reduced to this one image that you can't like clothes and be smart, that you can't be educated and embrace your culture. It's like we have to be one or the other. And all human beings are multifaceted, or there are a lot of layers to them. And I think so often today's society, people are just reduced to one label. Like if you're gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, like that's the only thing someone can be, or you're only black, or you're only a woman, and there's so much depth to all of us.
I believe that construed black women has always been, you know how they say we roll our heads and we're so mean. It's not that we're mean, it's that we're always on that line of we got to prove ourselves. You either can't be that dainty person like you want to be. We have to be that aggressive person to get where we're going, where other people don't have to be so aggressive. And black women just do that. Black women to me are very strong. I'm not trying to take it back, but not all black women, but how am I trying to say this? Black women to me are very strong because we have to be the fathers, the mothers, if you're going to be a true good parent and try to bring up our kids and stuff. So I think black women, whether you're light or dark, we judge ourselves within our own, the African American, but I think you should be judged on you and only you, but people don't do that. And you should be judged on not just the outer look, the light eyes or the darker look. It should be judged on your inner beauty and how you treat everybody else.
Her strength, her power is what defines a black woman. I feel like she has to go through so many things throughout her day that just her being able to be tough enough and having that tough layer of skin is what makes her her. Like every black woman I feel like has a different layer of that tough skin, so that builds on who she actually is.
What defines a black woman is their resilience in history. We have a lot of stereotypes placed upon us, being African American and a woman, and people think it's impossible to do a lot of things with being both, and I feel like we are rebellious against those stereotypes placed upon us.
Each black woman in America brings a different perspective to America. I think it depends on what location you lived in, where you grew up, how your family was structured. So I think it has different meanings for different women. I think for some women, and in my family, it means that we do service. We are a service-oriented family. I think that what it means to be a black woman for me is education. I need to get all the education, and that's not meaning degrees, but knowing what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. So I think there are many facets of black women.
I think people work hard. I think women of color work hard. I think when, you know, there's research that shows when infants are born, right, and the survival rate of infants. And they talk about that girls have a greater survival rate than boy infants when facing like the same health challenges. And you take it one step further, and Caucasian versus African American or black infant girls have a higher survival rate. And so I think just kind of intuitively, and it's in our DNA, it's in our makeup to be survivors. It's in our makeup to make the best of the situation that we're handed. I think, you know, what I've observed with women in general, it's that when they have those setbacks or people treat them unfairly, they don't give up, right? I'm a firm believer in, like, you change things from the inside. Like, if you don't like the way a system is, you figure out how to become a part of that system so that you can have a voice and you can change the perception that people have of whatever that label is, be it a woman of color or an African American female or transgendered individual, like you name it. Work that system from the inside out, and that's where you can bring other people on board with you. You know, one of the stereotypes that's out there is just, you know, that black women are fighters, but I think in many respects that's true. I don't think it's fighting like that's represented on reality TV reunion shows, not that kind of fighter, but like a fierce determination and a drive and, you know, making lemonade out of lemons. I mean, that resonated strongly with people when Beyonce's album came out last year. But there's truth to that. There's truth when my parents divorced and my mom worked 2 jobs when I was in high school so that our standard of living didn't change. And she easily could have said, forget it, we'll downsize, we'll do these other things and make greater types of sacrifices. But no, she fought through.
I was 8 years old. It was when I was a small child, it was desegregation in New York City, and it was being bussed out of my area to another area where they were trying to desegregate the schools. And you being on a bus, pretty much like Little Rock, them saying, okay, the parents had the signs out saying we don't want these niggers here. And that was the first time I really felt the feeling of being stereotyped. Before that, I had never felt stereotyped or isolated or anything in my own community as a child, because it was still, it was a poor community, but it was still a loving, caring community.
I had talked with a lady, well, I spoke with her, and over the phone and through emails, and she didn't know what race I was. And so when I finally met with her in person, she was like, oh, I didn't expect you to be black. I was like, what? She was like, I mean, the way you carry yourself. And I was just like, okay. I thought it was pretty normal, but I suppose. I didn't really feel any type of way. I just thought it was funny because, you know, it's just like, I function like a regular human being, especially in a professional environment. That's what I would expect, but to each his own.
I was on vacation with a lot of the black males in my family, and they were just talking about how they would never date a black woman, how they needed to have a white girl because it was just too much work and there was too much attitude, and it made me feel so small, and it made me feel like if my own family that are the same color as me, if they don't find me, you know, attractive or desirable, then who will? That's exactly how I felt in that moment.
Coming here and seeing, like, being the only black person in my class and people just looking at me weird, Because I'm from DC, there are a lot of black people there, so I don't like experience a lot of racism or nothing. But being up here, it's not like verbal thing, it's just like subtle. If I'm walking around Walmart and people are following me, they're obviously following me.
So I had this girl in class, and we had been friends for I wouldn't even say we were friends. I just knew her in class, and if I ever needed help with anything or something about homework or anything like that, she would help me. She would be that person that I would go to. And in class, and I would only ever really see her in class, and in class it was just straightforward, just about work and stuff, just about homework and things like that. And one day I saw her out on campus, and when she saw me, and this is you could say, I don't want to be stereotypical, but a Valley white girl, very, proper and, very, just not what I'm about to explain to you is what she did to me. She walked up to me and it was like, girlfriend. And I was like, who are you? Like, who are you talking to? And she just was like, really like girl and child. And it really set me aback that I don't know if she was doing it because we were in public and she was around people. And I mean, I can honestly say the person that I am, I may have acted that way just naturally around her and saying like girl and, being flamboyant and things like that. So she may have taken that as that's how she needed to act when she was around me in public. But the fact that she took it upon herself to go that extra mile to be this person that she was not into, I think what really pissed me off was that she felt like she was imitating me. And I felt like I was watching someone do a hyper dance of who they thought I was, and it was just very offensive. And I don't even think she realized she was doing it. And it was funny because I would watch her with other people, and then she would turn, it was like two faces. She would turn around to me and it would be like, girl. And I was just like, I had to check her one. I'm not gonna lie, I had to check her one day, and I was just like, what are you doing? And she was just like, what do you mean, girl? And I was just like, stop. Don't do that around me, because that's not who you are. And I don't know if you're doing it because you feel like I like you doing that, or I like you more, or you feel like you're down with me when you do that, but you're not, and it's disrespectful, so I'm going to need you to quit. And so after that, she actually kind of steered clear of me for a while. She didn't speak to me for a long time, and I was just fine with that, because if that's how you need to speak to me when you're around me, then baby, don't speak to me at all.
The ones that hurt are remembered more often. So I think that back when I was in college as a young lady, I worked for the Herald-Dispatch on a hopper, what they call a hopper, where they put the inserts of newspapers into the newspaper. And occasionally that equipment would break down. So we would be there till 2 and 3 in the morning waiting for it to complete our job. So unfortunately that evening or early morning hours, we were going home with several black young ladies. And a policeman stopped us and used a word and asked us why we were out downtown in the early morning hours. And we explained that we were coming from work, headed home. And he proceeded to remove his gun from the holster.
When I went to being in predominantly white areas and surroundings, and people find out, oh, both your parents are still married and they're still together, and you guys function as a normal family does, it's just a shock. And it's like one of the major stereotypes that people are surprised by.
This guy asked me, did you come from some sort of ghetto or something? Like, where did you come from? As if anywhere beyond this white suburb was an island or some mystical place, or just because I was black, I wasn't capable of living or being from a good neighborhood or good schools or have my father in my life.
Somebody walked up to my sisters and I in the grocery store with my grandmother, and they asked her, oh my gosh, they're so proper, where are they from? And we weren't like trying to act any certain way. We were really just talking like normal people, like just how anybody would talk. And that was like surprising to this lady that we could use English, I guess, I don't know. And it kind of just made me realize like what people thought black people acted like.
I had moved with my grandparents to Greenberg County, so I'm so used to like in Maryland, being there was all nationalities and stuff, but I had developed this group of friends. And when growing up, you know, your friends are, all your friends are friends one time and then the next time they're not. So I decided I was tired of not having friends one week, so I made what you would say, I guess, white friends. I don't know, it was just some nice girls, and we were hanging out. And so we were doing there. Her name was, I won't say her name. Anyway, she was having a slumber party and she invited us all over. I was the only black girl who said I was going to go, and I have to say black girl. So when we got there, her mom was really nice, and we were eating, just having a regular little slumber party. And we went in a room, we had blankets all laid out, and apparently, I don't remember what time it was, but her father came in to the door, and she was like, roll under the bed, roll under the bed. And at first I thought it was, oh, this is really funny, how we're hiding out what we were hiding for. But when I came, like when he came in just to say goodnight, and I was about myself, me and another girl was the only ones rolled under the bed. The white girl, I think she just rolled because she said roll under the bed. It was really to hide me so her father wouldn't see that I was a black girl staying in their house, because they knew it would be uncomfortable. And at that time when I rolled under the bed, I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I got myself into? It's around 11 o'clock at night. My grandparents are already in bed. I'm not going to walk all the way down this dark road by myself. So that night it just made me feel, for the first time, discriminated against, like I had to hide because I was her black friend. So then the next morning when we got up for breakfast and stuff, I think he was gone, but when he came back, it was like they played it like I didn't stay there all night, like I was just came in, and he was talking and just asking me questions like, I don't know, something to do with like school, and I was telling him that I had just moved from Maryland and just talking about my experience being an Army brat, and he said, oh, you're a good colored girl, I would make you my maid.
When I was in college, that was my first experience. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. We were the first black family to live on our street. But when I came to college, I had a roommate, and she was white. She was from Clay County. And when her parents found out that I was black, they made her move. And so that was kind of my first introduction to what people thought about black people. Being stereotyped as a black woman, I think sometimes people stereotype me because they think that I'm always angry or I'm always upset about something, and I'm really not. It's just I have a serious look on my face, and I'm very serious and I'm very professional, and I think that's a difference.
When I first got to Marshall, I felt it a lot because it was, in many of my classes, I was the only black woman. So when it came time for us to talk about racial issues or anything, everybody was staring at me to kind of talk for the entire race and not just for myself. Somebody asked me what I wanted to do in life, and I told them that I wanted to be a fashion designer and an artist, and people told me that I wouldn't thrive in that section of the career because it's white dominated and male dominated as well as far as the artist part, and I felt like, why does it matter? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I set my mind to it, I think I can do it.
Prior to working for the university, I was Director of Administration and Finance for the City of Huntington. And we were in budget discussions during a council meeting, and a gentleman spoke during Good and Welfare, which is the time in a meeting where people from the public can get up and say whatever's on their mind. It's their legal right. It's a city ordinance. A person or citizen has 3 minutes of uninterrupted time to speak before City Council. And there was an issue with the budget, and it was, I guess it was 2009, shortly after President Obama had been elected, and someone took exception to the fact that I had the position that I had, that I was paid the salary that I was. And the gentleman was like, well, I just don't understand why Obama hasn't come to get her too. And it was just kind of like, well, that's odd. That's a little misplaced.
Stay strong and be yourself, most importantly.
You have to surround yourself with positive people. If you're always around negativity, then you're always going to be negative. But surround yourself with positive people. Treat people the way you want to be treated, whether you're treating the president a certain way or whether you're treating the janitor a certain way. Treat them with respect.
My stepmother always taught me, and just watching her, she's never really said this to me, but more so, take the stones that are being thrown at you and make a masterpiece. Because yes, you are going through very hard times, but there are things that need to be done. And so you have to master a craft at getting things done. So that's definitely, I think, one of the best pieces of advice that I've received, and it's from watching her. Like, I feel like she's a Black woman that I feel like I praise her all the time.
Like, you can be anything you want to be, and there are role models for Black girls and Black women, really strong Black women that are doing like amazing things in every field. Just because of the way that you might see Black women portrayed in media or on in entertainment, anything like that. Like, you don't have to just think that you have to fall into one of those roles. You can be anything, and there's representation for Black women now, and you can find some really great women doing awesome things if you just research them out and find yourself a role model that you want to be like.
Just always be yourself and do what makes you happy.
Love yourself and be confident in who you are, because you are strong, you're intelligent, you're an amazing person.
Really love yourself and not worry about other people, because like, this system wasn't meant for us to succeed. So you just have to stay focused on your goals and really respect yourself and just know that you are destined for great things.
Don't look at the world for what you see. You have to look at it for more than what's just there. And I feel like it's like a test. Like, there are many tests that will give you information, but that's not all the information that's given. There's always more information, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to know why. It's nothing wrong with wanting more knowledge. It's nothing wrong with being curious. It's a good thing.
Girl, love the senior and your Black, baby. Don't ever let somebody tell you you're not good enough because you're a woman or you're Black. Just know that you came from kings and queens.
My best piece of advice is to always be comfortable with who you are. Some of us were not given the best set of tools in life, but that should not hinder you from being something great. I always tell everybody to use those things that have made you and play it to your strengths. Don't ever use it as something that's going to bring you down. You always hear people say, well, I'm a product of my environment. This is where, sometimes use that. Use it. Play up to it. Make it something positive. I'm always a firm believer in that. I've always been a firm believer in that. And my best piece of advice is, like, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, you can always be great. And I'm gonna stick to that to my dying day.
We're in a place where everybody's trying to like mimic everyone else or trying to be something they're not, especially with like on social media. So I would feel like if I had a little sister or a little cousin, I would just tell them to, like, no matter what it is, be who you are. Like, even if you're still trying to find yourself on your own. Like, don't try to like be something you're not, because I just feel like there's a lot of fakes going on and it's just not okay.
The best piece of advice that I could give a young Black girl was advice that was given to me. I had an internship, and by the grace of God, my entire office was like older Black women. So they were all like motherly figures to me. And they gave me advice all throughout the summer. One big thing that they kept hammering into me was, don't be afraid of anything, whether it is that stereotype, whether it is yourself, whether it's something as simple as your natural hair or how you come dressed. Don't ever feel like you gotta be too down to put on a show for people, and don't ever feel like you can't be who you are to put on a different show for people, in a sense.
So be, to that black girl out there, be who you are. Don't be who people expect you to be. Don't be who you think people want to see. Be you. Be who you are. Live in your truth. If that truth is wearing straight hair, then wear that straight hair. If you are not the natural hair kind of person, then wear your straight hair. If you are the natural hair kind of person, then rock them curls, girl. But just be true to who you are. Don't ever feel like you're doing it to look like someone else. And I think that is one big thing with natural hair. You know, people think that they're looking like someone else. You're not being your natural you, but it's all about what you feel is you at the end of the day. So be you. Don't be afraid to be passionate and be loud and be boastful. Don't be afraid that someone's going to feel like you're ghetto because you're laughing too loud or having too much fun. Just be you.
Find out who you are, and with that comes with just tap into things that you really enjoy doing and that you really enjoy being part of, and embrace that, and don't let anybody tell you that it's weird or that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing or that you're not trendy or anything like that. Just follow your heart wholeheartedly and never let anybody's influence deter you from doing what makes you happy.
Know where you come from, and to know like the power that you hold. Because I think that growing up I wasn't really aware of the amazing things that black women have been able to do. And so because of that, I feel like I didn't try to succeed or really like maximize my abilities. But as I started learning about like, you know, where I come from and how.
Be strong and continue to fight your fight.
Don't be afraid of who you are. Like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to not, yeah, it's okay to be different. There's no right type of black person, you know, we're all different, and that's what makes us so awesome and so powerful and so unique, is because we can do everything, and you don't have to be what they want us to be on TV, what they show to the world. That's not who we are. That's not who we have to be. We can be anything that we want.
Further your education, you know, that's important. Higher education will open doors. Not necessarily that degree will advance you, but it will open the door. And it's up to you to work hard, very hard, and to give your all, 100% to whatever opportunity comes for you. Because when that person hires you, they need you, and realize you're a necessity. Always remember that, and don't let them down. You know, do your job. That's what you got hired for. And also to be know that you're important. You're always important in God's eyes, and never let anyone make you feel less than who He created you to be.
And also, someone's going to have an opinion, right? Like, someone's always going to tell you who you should be, what they think you are. I have been called absolutely every single name possible except skinny. Except skinny. And if every day I walked around basing who I am as a human being, what I'm doing each and every day, and what my life's purpose is, if it was solely based upon what someone else told me, I wouldn't really be anything, and I wouldn't be contributing. And someone is always going to tell you who they think you are. And I would encourage any young African American female, any woman, any human being, that if there's something inside you and you know that you're called, you know that God has gifted you with something, you know that there's a purpose in your life, then you pursue that. And if you know that you're fabulous, you know that you're fabulous, and you don't need anyone else to tell you that, or to make you feel, you know, good about yourself, because they're not going to. Folks are going to tear you down. Folks are always going to have comments. You know, I'm not a big fan of social media because, again, I think it reduces folks to just one dimension. It's just a picture, right? Or whatever they're portraying, whatever that image is.
You need to believe in yourself. You need to find something that you really like about yourself, and then you can grow onto that. To me, everybody's beautiful, whether it's inside, outside, but I also know that in my family there was always at least one person or somebody that I grew up with that made me feel very special. Meaning like you can do what you set your mind to do. You can go and be whatever you want to be. I grew up in a time where you didn't see too many black people or black women doing a lot of stuff. Like Angela Davis, I wrote her paper about her because she was my person I liked because she stood up for what she wanted. So I was wanting the big fro and the big earrings, and my uncle and aunt was like jumping on me because she's a radical. But I think you need to tell young people or let them be a part of they need a mentoring group, because there's young girls where they think their hair is nappy and they might not know how to do it, and they're still beautiful. Their skin color is beautiful, and then it's beauty on the inside and not outside.
All right.
Look, seek role models out there. Ask for their support, even though
we've listened to comments from a number of black women, and I hope you would take some of those comments to heart, because they have a right to their individual opinion, and it's important for us to lift up these individuals, to respect them and to respect their opinion. There have been a number of African American females that have made major contributions to the country. And we look at the civil rights movement, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful women contributing to the cause. I'm just going to lift up a couple of names here of black women who have contributed things to the cause in terms of civil rights. And for example, a cousin named Monica Armster. Monica Armster was the daughter of Charles Armster, my cousin. She is the deputy secretary for the Department of Agriculture. She's an attorney, and she has a sister that's an attorney, and they did it themselves. And for the rights of farmers, many black farmers, particularly in the South, have had their land stolen and robbed and taken away from them. She fought for their rights, and it was recognized and respected by Joe Biden. So she was in the position. Mention up a few names that you may not have heard of. Willa Mae James Leak. Willa Mae James Leak was another member of my family. I'm lifting up my family members right now. She was the first African American female mayor of the city of Chester. The first African American period mayor of the city of Chester. But she happened to be African American female. She had she and her husband, Mr. Leak, on a funeral home in Chester, Leak Funeral Home. But my cousin, she's a James, and she's getting it done. Locally, there's been a lot of women that have fought hard to end racism and discrimination. We have Kathy Waters, who was an attorney, a member of the Waters family, has her own daycare center in business. She practiced law. She's had a number of very high-level positions in state government. She's been on our show a couple of times, and I want to have her on the show again because she had a tremendous amount to contribute. And so does her family. She comes from a large array of educated individuals, teachers also, the Waters family here in the city of Harrisburg. I also have to lift up, we talk about African American women that have contributed to our society. I have to lift up Linda Thompson. Linda Thompson was the first Black mayor for the city of Harrisburg. She only served one term, but Linda Thompson was a tremendous campaigner. And I knew when she came after Steve Reed in that campaign, I said, Steve, don't you take this woman for granted, boy, then the jig is over. And Linda created programs, positions and things she takes that I don't necessarily agree with. But I think her term as mayor was a very positive one for our people. and the first African American female to be lifted up as mayor for the city of Harrisburg. She was a woman on the margin. I understand she's in the ministry now, still doing good for other people. I lifted up Gloria Martin Payne. Gloria Martin Payne, we were friends. We met back in the 60s. She used to work for Thomas George. Thomas George was the first Black man to be secretary of what was health and welfare then. And we met then, we were friends for years. And she said she was going to go into politics, and she did. She was on city council for a number of years, and run for a number of offices. But she was a positive influence here in the city of Harrisburg, doing a lot of things for a lot of people. And I want you to look at the man in the mirror. I also want you to look at the African American female that brought you in this world. You know what I mean? There ain't no human being that didn't come by way of an African American female. People talk about this transgender and this transgender that, but you ain't trans in that. Women have a womb. They were created by God, and they brought us into this world. And you ought to know something about your mother, know something about your grandmother. Lift up your sister, lift up our folks. Know the history of the struggle that Black women have gone through. So I just want to say that it's the last show that we'll do in Black Women's History Month. And we lift up today African American women. And we love those African American women. Hey, by the way, I'm still down in Lebanon. Possibly, hopefully, I'll be able to get closer soon to the city of Harrisburg. But I'm in Lebanon. Wonderful little community. Come down and see me. We have all kinds of art and things. Here's a picture that shows you 4-foot giraffes, oils, original paintings, things from Kenya, Ghana, Senegal, drums. Come and see us, and we'll fix you up. We'll treat you right. And so we love you, we honor you, and God bless you. And thank God for 17104 and giving us and others a platform to do good for others. Take care now, and we'll see you next week. So long. This is your neighbor and your friend, in the words of the late Toby Young. Take care now. So long. Bye-bye. Thank you again for tuning in to the Richard James Show. Our African and our African American programs are set up to educate you on what's going on in this world. We thank you for taking out the time to listen. Let us hear from you sometime also. So this is your neighbor and your friend signing off. Until I see you again next week, and hear from you again next week. So long. God bless.